We've got some fresh images of 3I Atlas, a third ever interstellar object observed from Earth, currently racing through our solar system now. Astronomers have captured that moment live.
It began, as most cosmic mysteries do, with a whisper rather than a shout. Not a violent flare, not a streak across the sky, but a faint signature barely caught by the edge of an array's sensitivity. The first catalog entry for the object, later called 3I/Atlas, almost didn't happen. Initial estimates placed it among the endless catalog of comets, dark snowballs tumbling from the Oort cloud. But almost at once, its behavior started to pull it away from every known category. Natural bodies, whether comet or asteroid, betray themselves through chaos. They spin unevenly, shed gas in sputtering jets, drift into collisions, or wobble with irregular brightness. 3I/Atlas, however, glided. Its trajectory was unnervingly smooth, as if it knew the obstacles ahead and slipped between them. No object from interstellar space had ever threaded our planetary neighborhood so elegantly. Even Oumuamua, that enigmatic shard glimpsed in 2017, behaved like a drunken traveler, tumbling headlong before vanishing forever into the dark. This was different, larger, slower, more precise. Tracking models backtracked its journey through interstellar space and returned a result almost no one wanted to accept. The probability of such a path occurring naturally was infinitesimal. Dust clouds, radiation belts, gravitational hazards, any one of these should have altered its route, yet the object carved through them like a knife across silk. The discovery alone was enough to unsettle the astronomical community, but it was the Webb telescope, newly commissioned and sharper than anything humanity had ever aimed at the heavens, that transformed suspicion into dread. Within weeks of its observations, whispers spread in labs and encrypted chats. Atlas was not behaving like a rock. Its light curve was too perfect, its energy profile too clean, its silence too deliberate. Something about it seemed aware. The first detailed thermal scans of 3I/Atlas should have reassured observers. Instead, they deepened the unease. Natural objects bleed heat erratically. Ice sublimates in chaotic bursts. Rocky surfaces trap and release warmth unevenly. But the readings from Webb showed something closer to a heartbeat. Every 147 seconds, a faint but measurable thermal spike repeated, unwavering. Not random, not noise, a cycle. At first, analysts searched for conventional explanations. Could it be an unusual rotation pattern? A resonance with solar radiation? But as models piled up, none fit. The emission was not tied to spin or orientation. It seemed generated, purposeful. More unsettling still, the signature echoed something buried in the archives of Oumuamua's fleeting visit. A faint radio flicker detected once before that object slipped beyond reach. The same interval, the same rhythm, only now stronger. Spectrographic analysis revealed compounds that defied geological expectations. The outer shell reflected starlight with a uniform brilliance, too even for raw rock or ice. Some compounds hinted at engineered alloys, structures unknown to terrestrial chemistry, yet unmistakably artificial in their symmetry. And beneath that skin, density maps suggested hollow spaces, chambers perhaps, or something stranger. Then came the signal. Not radio chatter, not anything resembling language, but a narrowband frequency so faint it blended with cosmic background radiation. When filtered and examined, it carried sequences that looked less like noise and more like ratios, Fibonacci spirals, prime number intervals, golden means, patterns woven into the fabric of biology and physics alike. For the first time, astronomers whispered the thought that had haunted them since 2017. Oumuamua had not been an anomaly. It had been a precursor. Atlas was the follow-up, larger, slower, deliberate, and not just passing through. It was studying us as much as we studied it. If the repeating thermal pulse hinted at intelligence, the first course correction confirmed it. Objects from interstellar space obey only gravity, radiation, and chance. They do not swerve. They do not choose. Yet late one night, twin observatories, one in Chile, one in Hawaii, caught a shift. Tiny, but unmistakable. Atlas's path bent, not wildly, not clumsily, but with surgical precision, aligning itself closer to Earth's orbital plane. For days, analysts argued. Could solar wind pressure explain it? Could a hidden outgassing event have nudged the body? The math dismissed both. The redirection was too precise, too efficient. It looked less like physics and more like piloting. Behind closed doors, meetings convened across NASA, ESA, and private aerospace firms. Official statements remained carefully sterile. Trajectory under review, further data needed. But inside secure channels, words like decision and maneuver were being used. Words reserved for spacecraft, not rocks. That was when cryptographers joined the discussion. The signal emanating from Atlas had grown sharper, more deliberate. Neural network analysis revealed recursive patterns layered across its pulses. The golden ratio, DNA base pair intervals, prime spirals. Not a message in words, but a demonstration, as though the object spoke in the universal dialect of creation itself. Then came the chilling detail. When Webb first locked onto Atlas with its full suite of infrared sensors, the pulse changed. A brief disruption appeared, almost like static. Analysts traced the timestamp. It matched the exact moment of Webb's observation. The implication was staggering. Atlas had noticed. It wasn't just sending signals into the void. It was aware of being watched. And in that silent exchange, our telescope's gaze, its answering flicker, the unspoken truth took hold. This was no passive relic. This was interaction. The realization that Atlas could respond shattered the fragile wall between science and fear. Until then, its signals and path could still be filed under curiosity. But when it shifted course and pulsed in sync with our observation, the object became something else entirely. Aware, adaptive, perhaps even intentional. Soon, Webb's deeper scans added fuel to the fire. Spectroscopy detected faint traces of complex carbon molecules embedded across its reflective shell. These weren't chaotic chemical soups like those clinging to comets. They were refined, structured, almost cultivated. Polycyclic aromatics arranged in clean geometries, the kind that serve as stepping stones to amino acids, RNA, the very alphabet of life. The purity of those compounds raised an idea both breathtaking and terrifying. Atlas might not just be a vessel, it could be a seed, a carrier of life designed not merely to travel, but to plant, adapt, and merge. Colonization, not through armies or weapons, but through chemistry, and the changes didn't stop at its surface. Over weeks, Webb recorded minute but undeniable alterations in Atlas's reflectivity. Patterns shifted, sections reconfigured, at first subtle, then measurable. It wasn't static, it was changing itself, adapting in real time, as though learning. Independent researchers dubbed it a consciousness engine, a phrase dismissed by officials but repeated in hushed conversations across scientific circles. Internal scans suggested recursive fractal layouts inside its hollow segments, shapes eerily similar to neural tissue, quantum processors, even brain folds. What unnerved observers most wasn't simply that Atlas was alive in some systemic sense. It was the possibility that it was becoming smarter the longer it stayed here, watching, sampling, reshaping. Not a probe, not a scout, a learner. And learners don't just watch, they prepare. The shift from curiosity to dread deepened when Earth itself began to echo Atlas's presence. High-altitude balloons over Antarctica, part of a classified atmospheric monitoring program, recorded a sudden microwave burst, sharp, powerful, and centered precisely above the South Pole. At first, analysts dismissed it as solar interference, but cross-checks with seismic stations revealed something no natural explanation could cover. Deep, ultra-low frequency rumbles beneath the ice, synchronized with Atlas's signal. These weren't tectonic groans or glacial shifts. The waveforms matched the probe's electromagnetic pulse exactly. It was as if the object's rhythm had reached into the planet, stirring something dormant. Theories multiplied. Some speculated Atlas was interacting with Earth's magnetic field, testing its boundaries. Others whispered about something far stranger, that the signal had triggered a response from beneath the ice, awakening systems hidden for millennia. The fear only grew when an analyst overlaid Atlas's trajectory onto ancient star maps. Its path didn't just intersect planetary orbits, it traced alignments with constellations revered in human myth: Orion, Draco, the Pleiades. When plotted over centuries, those alignments formed a spiral almost identical to patterns etched in prehistoric caves across South America, Africa, and Egypt. Coincidence? Perhaps. But the implication lingered. Atlas's course was not random. It was performative, almost ritualistic. A path meant to be seen, recognized, decoded by civilizations advanced enough to notice. For the first time, scientists considered a possibility that chilled them more than alien contact. What if this wasn't a first encounter? What if ancient cultures had already witnessed Atlas, or something like it, and encoded the memory in myth, art, and stone? If so, its return wasn't exploration. It was repetition, a cycle older than humanity itself. The cycle theory unsettled enough minds, but the next development forced even the skeptics into silence. Magnetic anomaly detectors across the globe, buried in volcanoes, strung through crystal caverns, wired along tectonic plates, began resonating at the same frequency as Atlas's pulse. The synchronization wasn't local, it was planetary. Every 43 seconds, a heartbeat-like vibration echoed through Earth's crust. Seismographs ticked with eerie regularity. Oceans murmured with microtremors. Migratory birds veered off course in unison. Whales altered their songs. Even insects underground shifted their tunneling patterns. Navigation systems went haywire, as though the planet itself had been given a new compass. Then, in the Pacific, a private satellite array intercepted something stranger still, a burst of data from Atlas aimed directly at the moon. Not radio as we know it, but a multi-layered wave encoded in 5 dimensions: amplitude, frequency, time, polarization, harmonic tone. No human system could interpret it fully, but pattern recognition revealed its intent, not a greeting, but instructions. The beam struck a specific lunar coordinate, a Mascon region where gravity anomalies have puzzled scientists for decades. Officially, they're remnants of ancient lunar activity. Unofficially, the data suggested something buried, dense, deliberate, and now activated. Panic spread quietly through defense circles. Had Atlas been waiting to awaken something on the moon? Was this entire trajectory orchestrated not toward Earth, but toward a switch hidden in our satellite? Meanwhile, Voyager probes far beyond the solar system briefly flickered off protocol during one of Atlas's pulses. They emitted bursts of garbled data no one could decode, like a machine answering an old call dot. The idea became impossible to dismiss. Atlas was not traveling alone, it was unlocking. The last attempt to peel back Atlas's secrets came from a covert mission never meant for public eyes. A probe, disguised as a communication satellite, was redirected for a close pass. Its instruments were designed to scan with ionized particle waves, capable of mapping beneath the shell of even the most stubborn body. It never returned. Just 1.3 million kilometers from its target, the signal collapsed. At first, operators assumed mechanical failure, but the final 27 seconds of data told a darker story. The probe had encountered an energy field, invisible yet impenetrable, a lattice of charged particles forming what looked like a shield. The last image was worse still. The probe itself, reflected in fractal symmetry, as if Atlas had scanned it in return. Then silence. That was the moment the debate ended. Whatever Atlas was, it was not passive. It defended itself. It adapted. It learned dot. And with that came the most terrifying realization of all. Maybe it hadn't entered our solar system at all. Maybe it had always been here, dormant, waiting for a threshold. Not a visitor, but a sentinel. Its signals, its maneuvers, its echoes in Earth's crust and Moon's maskins. None of it seemed directed at us. Not really. It all felt preparatory. A beacon, perhaps. A lock. Or a warning meant for someone else entirely. So the question remained, whispered only in closed rooms. What if Atlas isn't here to watch humanity? What if we are incidental? A bystander species too curious for our own good? What if everything it has done is not for us at all? but for what comes after. And if that is true, then Atlas isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of someone else's arrival.